We dread the day we lose a loved one, such as a parent or grandparent. What we don't anticipate, however, is the difficulty in having to plan and manage the funeral. Planning a funeral requires making difficult decisions and having to choose among many options, and at a time when we are grieving and emotionally vulnerable. Funerals can also be a substantial financial burden to those responsible arranging them. This video will cover some of the major decisions you will likely need to make and the consumer protections afforded you when purchasing funeral services and products. Legal protections. The Federal Trade Commission has enacted national regulations that encourage consumers to compare the prices between funeral homes, their services, and products. You should also know that funeral homes are strictly prohibited by law from concealing or misrepresenting their prices for specific products and services. Under federal law known as the Funeral Rule, you have the legal right to buy only those funeral services and products you want. It also means you do not have to accept a package deal that may include items you may not want. Let's turn to some of the more specific protections in purchasing funeral home products and services. Federal law provides the following protections. The consumer, if they choose, can obtain pricing information by telephone. The consumer must receive an itemized price list when visiting a funeral home, including a written casket price list before seeing the actual caskets. The consumer must receive a written itemized statement after deciding what they want, but before they pay. The consumer must be informed that they may use an alternative remains container instead of a coffin for cremation. The consumer may provide the funeral home with a casket or urn that they buy elsewhere. Selecting funeral products and services. The first thing to acknowledge is that funeral planning is a deeply personal process, and there is no one-size-fits-all approach. In most cases, funeral directors will be able to provide you with guidance and support throughout the planning process. But unfortunately, this isn't always the case. Watch out for overpricing. Many funeral homes require embalming if you're planning a viewing or visitation. However, embalming generally is not necessary or legally required if the body is buried or cremated shortly after death. Eliminating this service can save hundreds of dollars. Caskets. A casket is often the most expensive item you'll buy if you plan a traditional full-service funeral. Caskets vary widely in style and price and are sold primarily for visual appeal. You can buy a casket from a third-party dealer and have it shipped directly to the funeral home. The funeral rule requires funeral homes to agree to use a casket you bought elsewhere and doesn't allow them to charge you a fee for using it. Keep in mind that caskets do not preserve the body indefinitely. No matter where or when you're buying a casket, it's important to remember that its purpose is to provide a dignified way to move the body before burial or cremation. No casket will preserve a body forever, regardless of its qualities or cost. Cremations. Many families that opt to have their loved ones cremated rent a casket from the funeral home for the visitation and funeral, eliminating the cost of buying a casket. For those who choose a direct cremation without a viewing or other ceremony where the body is present, the funeral provider must offer an inexpensive unfinished wood box or alternative container that is cremated with the body. Under-law funeral directors who offer direct cremations may not tell you that state or local law requires a casket for direct cremations because none do, must disclose in writing your right to buy an unfinished wood box or an alternative container for direct cremation, must make an unfinished wood box or other alternative containers available for direct cremations. Let's now turn to GotTrouble's helpful services. GotTrouble.org provides valuable articles on your legal rights and offers valuable tips. In our glossary, you'll find the full meanings and descriptions of funeral terms. We also offer a vast network of related resources and helpful services, such as valuable links to local funeral homes and directors, as well as third-party suppliers of funeral products. We provide links to local independent funeral consultants who can guide you through the funeral process and help you make important and budget-friendly product and service choices. We also provide valuable links to local grief counselors and mental health therapists who counsel children and adults on how best to emotionally process the loss. Finally, you will also find suggestions on how you can stay mindful and balanced through this difficult time. For more insights and guidance, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. For more information, links, and expert advice, visit GotTrouble.org, and thank you for watching.